Yeah, the racialized nature of this, of like, here are these people moving into our country and they've taken our eyeballs from us, that these legacy apps. So yeah, like there is this coalescence of all these different things that seem to be so prevalent in America. On the one hand, yeah, just to recap, like the sort of dying tech industry and the kind of oligarchy that was built around that, that's rapidly losing its base, and TikTok has hastened that big time. And but then the sort of coinciding thing of like American sort of general insecurity, cultural insecurity, and mixed with xenophobia, and also like provincialism, such that like you can't say a positive thing about a movie like Battle of Lake Changjin, right? That I love, that I did like a whole episode about. That's like a great movie, one of the most popular movies ever in China. That like this was not even worth like taking a serious look at, that you just had to instantly dismiss, and then you can't even like buy the DVD, like that, like the Blu-ray, like it's hard to find. Like it's just like this petty cultural hysteria that's like takes over everything. Anyways, all these things coalescing, but like what the fact that like so many Americans have adopted this thing and it's become such like a daily part of their lives. It's like, is it to me that like ultimately trying to sequester and contain China will fail the US, and it will only harm it? Or is this just like a one-off?
So I wanted to speak to your what you were talking about a few minutes ago about this gradual transition from like text-based media to video-based media, which you're right, like everything is oriented around video now. If you look at TikTok, the engagement that like the most viral videos get, it's like 20 times as many likes and comments as what you would find on a viral tweet on Twitter, right? Or like a well-performing tweet on Twitter. Like I do social media, and like as part of our Instagram account, we're really like trying to pivot more toward video, because if you look at the posts of just like photo carousels versus like the Instagram reels that we upload, it's the Instagram reels that like really, really do well. And the photos just like kind of do okay, right? So I don't know, like I think that has something to do with like this compression, this like gradual compression of our attention spans, and how like we can't like read anymore. Like we can't like read anything text-based anymore. We like things kind of we prefer to consume video and watch someone explain something to us. And I was like watching a TikTok, and there was this guy who came up on my feed, and he was like, so like at what point are we, like our attention spans are decreasing, and at what point are we like, what is the end goal here? Because like we used to watch YouTube videos. Like first it was like, if we needed to learn how to do something, we would Google it and we would read it. And then we would be like, at some point we were like, oh, I don't want to read something, I'm going to watch a YouTube video. And then at some point we were like, oh, this video is too long. And then we transitioned over to TikTok. And now everyone's like, I can't watch this TikTok video, I'm going to scroll up because it's too long. Like I can't watch a TikTok video that's like over 20 seconds or something. So like, are we just like transitioning to like no attention spans at all?
Yeah, yeah, the full bumblebee brain life. We just go from one content feed to another and sucking up as much dopamine like pollen as possible.
Yeah. And like a lot of it has to do with TikTok itself and the way that it's like revolutionized video. And like obviously this US attempt at a ban on TikTok, I don't believe in it, but at the same time, like this is not me defending TikTok, because I do feel like there are like things like there's like content on there that I think is like harmful, especially harmful to like young women, and I myself don't really like this phenomenon that we're talking about, where our attention spans are like getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And I feel it within myself as well. Like I'm not, yeah. But yeah. But I think that also speaks to, like how TikTok and its sister app Douyin in China, they're used, I mean, they're sister apps, but they're used in very different ways in both countries, right? So in China, they like regulate internet content, right? They often ban like hate speech and, Nazi stuff and stuff like that. But also they regulate content for children. And it's like if you're under the age of 18, then your feed will only show you whitelisted content. And if you're under the age of 14, your feed will, the algorithm will push educational videos like history videos, science experiment videos, stuff like that. Whereas like in the US, there's no kind of like internet content regulation or policing. And it's like basically the Wild West right out here, right?
Well, they do shut down a lot of political stuff around enemy countries, but yeah, generally as a whole, and that's where it targets its policing. But yeah, the culture of policing of online life is completely different in China than it is in the U.S., and I think that's clear. And that's also to say that the nature of policing in China is completely different than the U.S. So like this is an interesting thing to think of, these two apps evolving in these two very large countries with very different populations. And also with a very different relationship to how the state manages the individual's consumption of media and its relationship to the internet as a whole, right? Because, I mean, when I have these conversations, I try to ensure that, like, okay, I have to be like a good academic and be like, okay, so what's the counterfactual to this? The fact that, like, okay, what Amanda just said, for instance, like, okay, they push this, the algorithm, whatever, is pushed towards more educational content. But, like, ultimately, if you were seeking out the kind of like the typical garbage that you get on TikTok in America, in China, you could probably find it, I imagine. Like it's not, I mean, sure, there is that policing thing, but like what an individual does with their internet experience, I feel like we can't generalize it to any point. And yeah, we can relate about kind of cultures of textual consumption. And I think you can draw those out and you can make sort of blanket statement. I mean, you can make blanket statements, but like you can make general assumptions from the life that we understand, being where we grew up and what we know. And, so we kind of have a similar vibe, but ultimately you can say, I think pretty confidently, that the US relationship of how it polices internet behavior is much different than in China. And that is how you can see the difference in these two related apps, as if it's like a weird control.
Yeah, and that has to do with like the state's like relation to capital, right? Like in China, them being being a socialist country and like doing this like socialist construction, they they often they control capital in a way that the US government doesn't, because the U.S. state is basically just an arm of U.S. capital. And that kind of goes into what this whole TikTok ban is all about, right? Because what's driving a lot of this TikTok ban is Silicon Valley itself. And like what I said earlier about like them not being able to compete with this Beijing-based app that was developed in China. And, like a large part of this campaign against TikTok has been waged by Meta, right? Meta is one of the top stocks owned by members of Congress. In 2020, Meta spent like a record $20 million lobbying in Congress. And so along with Meta, like Silicon Valley and the tech industry overall is a huge political force in Congress. And they have lobbied against bills which promote competition in the tech industry. Meta has also consistently lobbied against legislation that would have forced social media apps to be more transparent about their privacy policies, more transparent about their algorithms and data collection practices. And they've lobbied against bills that would have made them more accountable for the harmful content on their apps. Last year, the Washington Post, they uncovered a bunch of like internal emails that revealed that Facebook actually hired a consulting firm to undermine TikTok and present the app as as a danger to American children and society. And so this firm was instructed to deflect Facebook's own data privacy issues onto TikTok. And the firm was also instructed to publicize stories in local media about dangerous viral teen trends to pressure local legislators to act against TikTok. So operatives from the firm would like contact local news outlets and get them to run stories about these dangerous viral teen trends that they said had originated on TikTok, but a lot of them had actually like originated on Facebook. And they would also, write op-eds and letters to the editor in local newspapers, often posing as concerned parents about how TikTok was a danger to their children and society at large, and that they were worried about the Chinese government being able to access their children's user data. So this campaign was waged to enlist media and politicians to help take down Facebook's biggest competitor. And so a lot of this has been the doing of Meta, who has fanned these allegations of the supposed dangers of TikTok in order to undermine its competition.